A norovirus outbreak at the University of Guelph has been tearing through student housing and has now made more than 240 people sick. Wellington Dufferin Guelph Public Health says that all of the reports by mostly students over the past week, only one positive norovirus case has been confirmed so far. A statement on the university's website says that the school has stepped up its cleaning of high-touch surfaces and temporarily moved away from offering large-scale social programs for residents' communities to help slow the spread of any illnesses. I'm now joined by Dr. Abhishek Raut, medical director at Appletree Medical Group, to unpack this further. Dr. Raut, thank you for joining me today.
Great to be here.
Now, would you mind explaining what norovirus is and how the illness found itself on the University of Guelph campus?
Well, norovirus is a highly contagious virus that causes gastroenteritis, which is basically inflammation of the stomach and intestines. We often call it the winter vomiting bug because it's so common in the colder months. And we have our usual nausea, vomiting, stomach pain, diarrhea, and sometimes a fever. Now, globally, norovirus is actually the leading cause of acute gastroenteritis, and estimating 685 million cases annually. It's responsible for about 200,000 deaths each year, with children under 5 being particularly vulnerable. In Canada, norovirus cases have been higher and higher rates when we look at the 5-year average from 2019 to 2023. And the Public Health Agency of Canada has noted this increase in norovirus cases across multiple provinces, including Ontario. And so this recent outbreak at the University of Guelph is really part of this broader trend that we're seeing.
Now, how is the virus contracted? And you did touch on the signs and symptoms of norovirus, but how contagious is it really?
Yeah, so norovirus is highly contagious and can really spread in several ways. Firstly, we see direct contact with an infected person. Secondly, consuming contaminated food or water. And three, touching contaminated surfaces and then putting your fingers in your mouth. So we do see the similar signs and symptoms that we've described before there: stomach cramps, low-grade fevers, muscle pains, and headaches. But what we do find is norovirus does spread quite easily in these crowded places like universities, schools, nursing homes, and cruise ships, which makes it very challenging to contain when an outbreak occurs. So at the University of Guelph, likely we saw a similar spread through either contaminated surfaces or even close contact with infected individuals.
And you did mention that this virus tends to affect younger children a little bit more. Is there any other group of people more at risk? And it being fatal, at what point should someone seek medical attention?
Yes, we do find that there are certain vulnerable groups, young children, especially because their immune systems are still developing, so it makes it more vulnerable to severe symptoms. Older adults as well, so aging can weaken the immune system, and that makes us more vulnerable. Individuals with weakened immune systems, so chronic illnesses or looking at HIV/AIDS, can certainly have greater vulnerability. And residents of communal living environments, which is what we see here, people living in close quarters, such as students in dormitories, residents of nursing homes, or even passengers in ships, have a much higher risk of contracting and spreading norovirus.
Now, with it being so contagious, what are the best ways that students can avoid contracting the virus? I mean, I'm sure they're all partying and hanging out and doing their thing. So, what are ways they can still enjoy university but not contract this virus?
Right. Well, first we have to keep in mind the severe symptoms of it. We can see severe dehydration, vomiting, bloody stools, high fever, severe stomach pain. And so when we see that, we certainly want to stay away and seek emergency care. And certainly when we look at students as well, if you have a student or a friend who's experiencing those symptoms, to advise them to go to the hospital there. Aside from that, we see frequent hand washing being very essential. Avoiding touching your face, particularly your mouth, nose, and ears, to prevent the virus, and staying home when you're sick. All of these play a huge role in decreasing any pandemic spread or any contamination in general.
Now, following the COVID-19 pandemic, universities have now gotten rid of their COVID pandemic restrictions. Do you think universities should keep those restrictions in place to avoid outbreaks like this from happening?
Yes, it's an interesting question. I think what we see is certain practices can be very helpful. So cleaning and cooking food properly, avoiding contaminated food sources, disinfecting surfaces, proper laundry practices can all play a huge role. Now, we know with the University of Guelph, they've taken several measures as well to mitigate the spread. So, enhanced cleaning and disinfection, postponing large social gatherings, encouraging their own students to wash their hands frequently with soap and warm water, and providing a lot of information on hygiene and best practices. I think those are great ideas to continue doing because it doesn't necessarily hamper or restrict the education of our students at the same time.
Dr. Raut, thank you so much.
Thanks so much for having me.